All right. 6 o'clock, Brian. How are you today?
Well, doing pretty well. We've already had this conversation, but I am still doing pretty well. I'll tell you how I'm doing this today, Sam. I went out. I go running every morning, right? It was
Uh-huh.
it was looking, pretty clear out, and then I went running, and
The
I got
rain,
rain dumped on me for just enough to make me miserable. Yeah.
rain is good when you run, man.
Well, well, it is what it is.
You
But
know
I don't.
why? You know why it's good when
Yeah.
you
What is
run?
that?
Because I don't run.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well,
So today is special. We are going to spend time to take your questions. I have already some questions that came in, uh, and we're going to talk about them and then bring them on. And we're going to be just getting you guys rolling here with 70 minutes of Q&A.
yeah.
And we're already eating 2 minutes out of it. I don't want to waste too much time.
Yeah, we have some
Um,
other things we can talk about as well because the H-1B lottery just closed up. But I will take one. People, I have certain people who are always in my inbox asking me questions, and since I mentioned the H-1B lottery, I'll bring up one that is H-1B lottery related. Hey Brian, what do you think the odds are in the H-1B cap selection this year? And my answer, because they've officially, if nobody's aware, they've officially announced that they've made their H-1B cap selections for, or at least the first round of them for this year. And it's looking a little bit better than last year. My best guess, based upon the data I had access to, was around a maybe 13, 14, 12, 13, 14, 15% selection rate last year. I think we're seeing something in the 20% this year, which is nice. It's different people to different sample sets might have differing numbers, but as we sort of predicted, people were having a better chance of getting selected in the H-1B cap this year, which sounds good to me.
so I have one interesting question here that came in, Brian.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, uh, my visa was revoked at the port of entry.
Ooh.
I'm trying to get guidance. What do I need to do next? I haven't been banned, but I have been given a chance to reapply.
Yeah.
So this is a situation where somebody is coming at the border and then they send him back.
Yeah.
They basically revoked his visa. In this case, they canceled his visa at the port of entry. Of course, there's a lot there that's missing that we don't know about this question is why, what happened, what's transpired. One of the things I want to tell people they need to be very aware of is when there's a cancellation of visa, typically there is an interrogation that happens, a
Yeah.
Q&A. Are you a U.S. citizen? No. Are you claiming asylum in the United States? No. Are you anyway in danger if I send you back to your place of origin for your life and liberty?
Yeah.
No. You have this visa, but here is the concern that we have. What is your position on this Q&A? And then they sign that Q&A. They must get a copy of it. They must demand a copy of it. Getting it from US from ICE after the fact, trying to kind of fix the situation is difficult and very time consuming. So ask politely. I need a copy. If
Yeah.
somebody says sign this, may I have a copy of
So
it?
you're talking when you have a bad interaction with ICE or customs, I guess, at the border. So ICE too is possible, I guess. They will basically you will have a conversation with them, and they will hand you a summary of that conversation and have you sign off. And in that conversation is usually the reason why they've denied you entrance to the United States, of course.
Yes.
And I guess to have that conversation about why you weren't allowed to enter. It's critical for guys like us to get that explanation from the government because it'll
Yeah.
tell us a specific bit of law that says, "Hey, here's why I was denied a visa. You were denied a visa
Yeah.
or denied entry. Excuse me."
And don't think because you have an attorney that's going to help you in the situation. I was really handling a completely unrelated case
Hmm.
where somebody was also revoked a visa, and we provided consultation for that lady. She was a student,
Hmm.
and she went back to the consulate and got her F1 visa reinstated. And now she's getting nervous coming back again at the border one more time because they're waiting for me. Nobody's waiting for you,
Yeah.
but the advice I've told her, which is the advice I tell people on revocation issues, is uh, if you have a problem at the point of entry, it is not that moment where you need to do the work. There is no right to counsel. You're not going to be able to flip that phone and call your favorite attorney, Brian Burke, and ask him to intervene
Yeah.
in the situation. They know that you do not have a right to counsel at the border, and they will just tell the attorney, go to you know what. The way you do this, if you have concern, is the homework is done beforehand. You need to vet what are the concerns are, list them, discuss them with a qualified attorney, and a lot of time, at least in the practice of our office, we will arm you with a letter
Yeah.
to ICE where you can politely ask to make it part of the record,
Yeah.
explaining the concerns raised and why these are not an inhibition for you to being inspected.
Yeah.
So homework in advance is how you do it. If you're in trouble on the spot, a lot of time people are caught unprepared, and that's there's nothing you can do about it. But
Yeah.
if you, like in the situation of that lady who we helped her reinstate her F1 visa, in that situation, then you need to be prepared with a letter to address any concern. So
Yeah.
that's how you handle the verification.
Yeah, I want to take one of the ones from YouTube here that we got. The first one we have was
Yeah.
from. I don't think I can put it up because it's not coming up through our interface here, but it's on YouTube. From today, what are the fees for extending EAD AP for Indian EB downgraded GC applicants from the year 2020, priority date of January 2013, India? So a great question, and it's out there. It's basically for people who filed an adjustment of status application that's still pending after, I think it's a date in 2007. I can't remember the exact date. I think it's in July 2007 up until April 1st, 2024. Those who filed in that window are still entitled to extend their EADs and APs for free. Free in terms of government filing fees. But moving forward, those who are filing I-485 will have to be paying fees for those when filing cases. Yeah.
I have another interesting one here
Yeah.
as we keep them coming.
Yeah.
I came. This is really not an employment base, but it's an interesting one. An
Yeah.
interesting one. I came to the United States on a B1 B2 visa. Then I went to Canada and claimed asylum in Canada. But I don't like it in Canada. I'm back here in the United States without inspection,
Ooh.
crossed the border illegally, and then continues to say, I'm getting married to a U.S. citizen. Can you help me?
For me, Sam, the thing that media jumps at there is, well, so many problems there. People, this is something I get asked a lot. I was getting asked about this in a consultation today. It's, can I get into X status when I'm in a situation where I've either entered illegally or have overstayed my visa? And my answer is, 99 times out of 100, it's no. The bottom line is, generally speaking, any sort of immigration status, like student, H-1B, H-4, L, O, whatever, to get there from within the United States requires you to actually be in status when you apply. As you and I both know, there are so many exceptions to maintaining status in the United States and getting a green card when you're the spouse of a U.S. citizen. But the really kind of one thing, it's part of my sort of package of screener questions when I'm talking to somebody like that is, did you enter the United States legally? If you didn't enter the United States legally, you have a much more complicated path to applying for a green card within the United States for a spouse. It's really kind of rough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good one. So
Yeah.
I'll throw one in there, and then maybe you take one here that just came in.
Yeah.
But this is employment related, and this is really a good question. I'm on an H-1B visa, um, and I have a pending I-140,
Awesome.
approved I-140, and my wife on H-4 EAD.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to start my own company and work for my wife through her EAD. Can she apply for an H-1B for me through her EAD, and I can work for her in our company?
Yeah. It is it's possible. I think you have a lot of problems with that, uh, for sure. Um, but I mean, Sam, you agree that's theoretically, but okay, theoretically possible. Will you give me theoretically possible?
Yeah, well, I'll give you theoretically possible, and I'll give you potentially practically possible.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think
yeah,
as soon as you start saying it, you have to slow down because when you start saying possible, all the little problems with it start hitting you in the head. You know.
yeah, but see, if you are on an H-1B and you're
Hmm.
employed with the company,
Sure.
right, and you have this vision of being self-employed
Hmm.
through your wife's H-4 EAD,
Sure.
and you want to create a company, or you want your wife to create a company in which you will work for on H-1B, concurrent H-1B. I'll start with concurrent H-1B. I would not take a risk,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's good. That's a
there's
good take.
very little risk involved right
The
there.
concurrent
It,
H1B. That's a very good take. Get ready to dip your toes in those waters. Yeah.
yeah, get in there and just get the USCIS to approve you. And the way you get it approved is you, in my opinion, you want to make it look like less of a self-employment. Now, the proposed new ideas that this administration is coming out with is that they would like to flip this H-1B to make it more self-employment. You could have it, but that's not right now the
Yeah.
regulations.
That's
Yeah,
regulations to perhaps come in the future. Maybe. Yeah.
yes. So, but you could do that now by creating an outside board, independent board, reputable board, not your friends.
Yeah.
And this board is responsible for the HR and hiring and firing in your little company. And if you create that board, and that board are convinced that you could be hired and work there, and if you do not perform your job, you could be fired by the board,
Yeah.
not by your wife, not by you. You've created that bright separation between you, the employee, and you, the owner. You become really a passive owner, really,
Yeah.
of this company. You're really not active, but your wife could be running it, but at least she's not making HR decisions. Then I would definitely make a good case for a hire in your wife's company.
Yeah.
And it's worth the investment. If you feel that you can grow this company and make it really successful, it might be worth it.
Yeah. But I mean, I think of all these practical things. I mean, the H1B holder, can't be running that company practically
His wife
because
on H4 EAD
oh,
can do it.
sure, but I would always think there's a temptation, of somebody to think that I'm on H1B, I'm with the company, I can run it myself, and you cannot. Basically, CEOs is not a specialty occupation position, and it's incompatible with an H1B visa to actually take over that leadership role of the company. I guess is the point that I would definitely want to make there. Is that it's the old concept of you can get yourself promoted out of an H1B qualifying role. Doesn't
Yeah,
happen too much, but the bottom line is H1Bs are for specialty occupations. Specialty occupations are those that normally require a degree in a specific field. And it's long been the position of the U.S. government that, when you're a purely managerial person, that's not something that requires that specific field of knowledge. Well, what if I have a business administration degree? Don't care. They don't consider CEOs pure managers, pure executives, a technical sort of role that qualifies for an H1B visa. There's always sort of, different strokes to that though. It's possible for somebody to be a vice president of a company, for example, as long as their role is, technical in nature. I've done plenty of H1Bs for, you know, CTOs or vice presidents of software development for companies. It's really about the heart of the job. There, you can have lofty titles and still do an H-1B visa. That's for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
Very interesting question came here, that I'd like to throw in, and we'll take those ones coming from YouTube after.
yeah,
But this is really a nice one, insightful, not nice but insightful.
yeah.
So this person is on an H-1B visa, and just got charged with some controlled substance problem.
Ooh,
Okay,
yeah,
his counsel sent him a notice that they have revoked his H-1B stamp. However, the case was dismissed. The charges were dismissed and I still have my job, and I'm maintaining status in the U.S.
Hmm.
Uh, uh,
What do I do?
what do you? How do you guide me?
Well, Sam, if you keep on asking these questions, I'm going to keep on answering. Well, my first layer is: do you know, and I know you do, that it is written into the Department of State's Foreign Affairs Manual that if you get certain charges inside the United States, no matter if it makes you ineligible, no matter it doesn't really matter what the immigration impact overall is. It's their policy to cancel your visa, and alcohol OVI offenses are on that list. So basically,
So I'm going to tell you my recollection,
yeah,
because my recollection differs just a little bit,
just a little
and we
bit.
can just a little bit,
All
but
right.
not much. I think online, I think it's only DUI that's identified
I
as one that if there is a charge,
Yeah,
if there's a charge of DUI, the visa will be canceled. Other charges, I think that says you really need to kind of be careful before you do that. However, the consulate is not careful. What I've seen time and time again,
mhm.
the moment anything happened, they're canceling.
Anything beyond like a speeding ticket, because I can think of one.
I've seen domestic violence that's been dismissed.
Mhm,
I've
mhm.
seen
There's a local guy who I know you and I both know who got reckless driving, and that's killed his
stamp.
yeah, stamp.
Yeah.
So
And that's completely contrary to what the Foreign Affairs Manual says. The Foreign Affairs Manual says, in my recollection, only DUI because of the potential harm to others
yeah,
um, is
I
one.
know that
Mhm.
it does explicitly say DUI in there, and I can't
It
remember
does.
I can't
Yeah.
remember the exact what it says the rest of it. But point is,
Yeah.
so they will take your visa stamp.
Yeah.
But what they cannot do and what they do not do is they cannot automatically put you out of status in the United States. Just
Yeah.
canceling your visa stamp does not eliminate your I-94 that says so and so is allowed to stay in the United States for until
Yeah.
3 years from now.
Yes.
So I guess fundamentally those people are going to have challenges when they go back to the consulate for stamping, depending upon the nature of the charge. But fundamentally, there's the other side of the coin is you don't have to go for stamping. You can just choose to hang out in the United States and
But
stay
that's
here.
a kind of a eventually you run out of gas.
Sure.
So here's my general advice for these people,
Yeah.
Brian. Number one, there's I mean, what's going to happen is, especially in this guy who's
The
lucky,
DUI.
the case was this
Yeah.
substance abuse, looks like
Yeah. Yeah.
a controlled substance.
Oh, okay.
So
Something beyond alcohol, perhaps. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So number one, whatever you're going to have to do to make the embassy happy, start doing it now while you are in the U.S.
Yeah.
Because I had a wonderful situation with a gentleman that many years ago that had a drinking problem. They had him go through rehabilitation, 6 months rehabilitation, and they say come back in 6 months. And he's sitting in his home country doing it. Do it here in the U.S. So
Yeah.
I would definitely, if the case is dismissed, I would go through a rehabilitation program here in the U.S., an extensive one,
Yeah.
long enough that will allow you to, when you come in, you have this wonderful record that you have rectified the situation. And by the way, the case is dismissed, Your Honor, and I have taken my own steps to
To
do the
Yeah.
right thing.
Well, yeah.
Mm,
I mean, I guess I'd point out that it's they can deny if they believe you are a quote unquote habitual drunkard, they can deny you a visa, and they don't necessarily require the convictions aren't necessarily required to do that.
Yeah,
Meaning,
it's the potential harm to others.
yeah,
It's the potential harm to others that they worry about. We're not going to bring somebody to this country who's going to run over a
yeah,
child
yeah,
or hit somebody driving, hit somebody another. So you have to do these things, you
yeah,
know, proactively. And there's a lot more that we can talk about beyond the scope of this, but there's a lot of things you can do proactively if you're caught in a situation like this before you go home.
yeah.
That when you go home, you're ready to look like a hero at the consulate.
Essentially address the issue for which they're more likely to deny the visa before they deny the visa, because
Yes.
when you have a denied visa or an administrative processing case, it's miserable
Yes.
to
Oh,
get
it
it out
takes
of there.
forever, and then your career, your job.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to go
Ooh,
and come back, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, sounds good. So I see some questions here popping in. Brian,
Yeah,
you want to take some of these
let's put
to
them
keep it even
live
here
here. I will
between?
will read this one.
Yeah.
My wife from PA Pachai. My wife traveled outside the country while her AP application was submitted for renewal 6 months ago. Does she have to apply again when she returns to the U.S. on H-4 visa? Yes. Well, more likely than not, yes. Sooner or later, I would expect that your wife would receive a decision notice on her AP application, um, and that says, "Hey, we're denying this because you traveled during its pendency." But I guess I'll ask a question of myself. I'm presuming that she doesn't already have an approved advanced parole, and she might. If she has an approved advanced parole and you travel while the new advanced parole is pending, they should allow you to. They should keep it going. So that's kind of the way it cuts there. Sound like an okay answer to you, Sam?
I like the answer. I think it's a good answer,
Yeah.
Brian. I'm seeing this emails popping in here with questions,
All right.
and I'm reading. That's why I'm looking to
Well,
my right,
okay.
not my
Well,
screen.
I'm gonna
But go ahead. We
I'm
want to
gonna
give
keep.
those guys here that are posting on YouTube
Yeah.
the priority.
Yes, sir. So, from Mithun, my priority date was August 2nd, 2012, EB3 India, based on April 1st, 2024. How much time does it take my I-45 application to get processed and get my GC? My application is with the National Benefits Center from April. So, is that officially current? EB3 India, August 2nd, 2012, said Brian as he talks while he opens up the Visa Bulletin on his computer here. Gonna check out the Visa Bulletin right here. So EB3 India, 15th of August 2012 is where it's at for final action dates, meaning that date is current. So, a great question. My answer is it varies. I have a nice in my inbox. I have a gentleman I know and quite like who is asking me that same question regarding his family case that has just became current for the month of March. And what I told him is, I told him a couple in February before his date became current. I said it could be a matter of days, it could be a matter of months.
Right.
What you do is it may be possible to influence them. In the past, we've helped people basically come up with a fun little package to send to USCIS, a sort of knock knock. My priority date is current. Can you please act in my case? Sort of package that you can do that, and I have seen them to be successful. We've been doing that for a very long time. I remember literally, like 10 years ago, we would call them. I still call them this adjudication letters saying, "Hey, my case has been pending for a long time. My priority date's current now. Please adjudicate my case." For extra sort of sprinkles on top, you can basically help them out by giving them things that might help them approve your case. Ooh, if your medical exams are out of date, give them fresh medical exams. If your supplement J is a little bit stale, give them a fresh supplement J. Make their life easy. Those guys don't, okay, sometimes I think they like issuing RFEs, but most of the time they are human beings like you and I, and they just kind of want to get their workload done as efficiently as possible. And if you make it easy for them to approve your case, they just may darn well do it.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good one.
Yeah. So yeah, and I to follow up, Mithun, is there a way to expedite an application if a case is stuck? That's kind of my first step. I mean, the other things that can be done to talk about, moving cases forward that are quote unquote stuck is, you can start talking to your Congress people. For those who aren't aware and didn't have to endure the second grade U.S. civics education that I did, you have two senators that represent you, as well as a member of the House of Representatives. Even though you may not be permanent residents or citizens, you are still counted in, say, census data, and they represent you. And they have people in their office who it is their job to help people navigate issues with the United States government. And if your case is stuck for a while, those Congress folks have offices or people and facility and means to inquire. Literally, look up. There's tools online to figure out who your Congress people are, who your senators are. Senators are easy to find because there's two for every state, and that's that. But all these folks will usually have a section on their website that says, help me with a U.S. federal agency, and a form you can complete that says that request that. It's something we will help people with sometimes for sure, because we're a bunch of attorneys and we maybe perhaps know a few tricks for getting them to pay attention a little bit more than average. But it's available for you, their constituents, to do that sort of thing. I guess, Sam, my last thing on the list is the old mandamus action. If you've done everything else and the government is just sitting on their collective hands regarding your case, you can sue the government, make a move. Try to.
I have a lady who um, year and a half on her I-130
Oof.
pending, and the frustrating thing is they keep moving the date, and when you punch in the date,
Oh, when they'll take an inquiry?
when they take an inquiry, so it was. She came talk to me last week, and I said they said May 15th or something, and I said
Yeah.
May 15th is coming up, maybe a couple more
Submit an
weeks.
inquiry after May
Yeah,
15th. Yeah, we'll see.
she texts me this morning. She says they moved the date to June,
Yeah.
and it's just like you cannot even submit an inquiry, you
Yeah.
cannot even
Yeah.
figure out what's going on. So it's very frustrating. Um,
Well, this comes to back one of my frequent, echoing the voices of everybody else I hear it from. One of those great frustrations from USCIS. It's lack of information, and letting nobody. People are generally understanding that things take time. It's where they get driven absolutely mad. Is how long? If you could literally show a case queue. If I know I'm one of 10, 9,999 of 10,000. At least I know I can watch myself move up. Might make me feel good. You know, and there you go. At least you
yep,
can. Yeah,
yep.
yeah,
HF, my combo card expires in July of 2024. Renewal is pending. Can I travel while renewal is pending? If I travel using my approved AP and return before expiration, do I need to refile AP, or is it okay? Or it is okay?
yeah,
The answer is it is okay. If you have a pending advance parole, the departure from the U.S. is not an abandonment of that pending advance parole by policy.
yeah.
And therefore, you can come back before the expiration of the advance parole, and you don't have to worry about filing a new one. Anything else you can add, Brian?
No, I think that's pretty straight forward there. I like this next question we have on the list, Sam, because it's an open-ended one where our question asker Emily has made the horrible mistake of asking me for my opinion, and thereby she will get an essay. How does excuse me? How does the outlook for business immigration, with the increase in fees, long processing time, and current uncertainty of the job market? Maybe I should say, Sam, you should answer this one first, because we did a sort of a topic about this, maybe 2 weeks ago, where we talked about what does the U.S. job market look like? Where's the need for U.S. workers versus how many U.S. workers are available? We have a need for people in these United States that is not being met with our existing workforce in so many professional occupations. Obviously, the realm of IT, and a whole lot of other ones as well. I mean, what do we say about our business, Sam? It's usually at least good. You know, uh,
I mean, our business is our business. I mean, we are fortunate and lucky. There are more people that want to come to this country than there are immigration lawyers, right?
yeah,
And therefore, we will continue to work and be busy. But in terms of our clients, like our corporate clients, I think everybody was anticipating a down year this year. For everybody I've talked to,
yeah. With
um,
a sort of big outlook for 2025, being what's there. I mean, I guess I'll to entertain Emily's point a little bit further. Obviously, I mean, talking of the uncertainty of the job market, it's layoffs, layoffs, layoffs. Um, there, have maybe not so much thus far this year, but there was a string of IT related, layoffs, which was, I think I heard maybe Microsoft earlier this year.
yeah.
But again, work doesn't usually just disappear. I think it honestly just moves around.
I have
More, yeah,
speaking of layoff, I have a question on layoffs, as a matter of
yeah,
fact. So I'm currently on H-1B visa and
yeah,
was laid off from employment on January 1st. Um,
Ooh.
the employer said they will pay me for one more month until February 1st as my last payday, which covers 2 weeks. No, which cover the month of February. The month of February, so it's
Okay.
a whole month.
Okay.
Get them into so the last paycheck is February 1st for the month of March, I guess.
Yeah.
I want to know about the grace period, exactly how to calculate the grace period if I'm laid off, but I'm getting money as part of a severance that extends that paycheck for a month or so. So,
Mhm.
how do you calculate the grace period, Brian, in this situation?
Well, this is a frequent conversation we have in our office here, and I'm not going to pull up the regulation exactly, but we know what it says. It refers to a cessation of employment. What is employment? It's you pay me money, I do work for you. So once your employment ends, you are once you stop doing work for the company. I would say that would be my conservative answer is when you start calculating the grace period. Now, regarding this situation, that's the beauty of Question Sam. We don't have the complete details. This is literally a consultation we might have with somebody. But there's are they going to keep you on board for another month? And if we have anything we want you to do, are you still on call during that month? If you're still on call, still reporting to the company to do work, whatever they want for you, you could make the argument that you're still employed. If during that month you're sayonara, adios, via con dios, whatever you're adieu, and you're out there looking for a job because you don't have one, um, that's one where I'd say you are actively using the grace period right now. I think as a practical matter, USCIS will just likely look at your pay stubs, but just because USCIS just looks at the pay stubs doesn't necessarily mean your problem is fixed.
Or it does mean that your problem is fixed. So, my take on this, Brian,
Yeah,
is you're correct, but in the world of advocacy,
yeah,
in the world of advocacy,
hmm,
we are advocates.
sure,
And we will advocate that the end of that paycheck is the end of the employment. And absent any information that USCIS has, let's say press release,
yeah.
that, hey,
We just
that
laid
date.
out, yeah, yeah,
So I would give USCIS that paycheck and say, here's my calculation. Do you have any problem with it? 99.9% they will accept it. I'm going to
sure,
tell you why. It's not because it is or it is not 100% wrong or 100% correct.
hmm,
That's not why.
hmm.
It is because USCIS understands that the H-1B regulation and the 60-day grace period, as generous as it is compared to prior rules,
Or
it,
lack
it,
thereof, but yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
is a very short period of time. And the loss of workforce that this country will sustain by being too tough on this grace period scenario is such that it doesn't make any sense for them to pursue it. It is counterproductive. And therefore, you give them something to hang on to, and they'll take it. You give them that paycheck and say, here's my paycheck, the last paycheck I got, and here's my calculations of my grace period. USCIS, let me know if you disagree, and they are not going to disagree.
I will fully accept everything you just said, but I will tell you something that I was, consulted on recently. USCIS site visit, where basically the scenario was this: somebody had lost their job, right? Then filed late in the grace period to get on board with a new employer, right? Later on, during a site visit on that H-1B change of employer case, USCIS asked for payroll to confirm that uh, well, somebody still joined in the grace period. So I guess, I mean, I'm talking about the other end of the grace period. I'm talking about sort of, closing the grace period. You're talking about when the grace period begins. But I guess what I'm saying is I have seen scenarios where they inquire, you've told us, they have evidence to believe that the grace period will, close and you'll have a job, through filing of an H-1B that would make it possible. But cases where I've heard of them following through and basically making sure that somebody did actively join a new employer, during the grace
Yeah,
period, 60
yeah,
days, they can do it.
yeah. And the beauty is that USCIS have indicated that really indirectly they're extending the grace period, right?
Oh
By
yeah,
allowing you to file for this visitor visa
yeah,
application,
yeah. That's
right?
true. That is very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I get this question here. I missed my N400 interview. What shall I do? Not employment related, but this is a good one. A
Yeah.
permanent resident, I don't know, overslept. So, what to expect when that happens? I'll answer.
Okay.
Since you've been answering most of them, Brian, I'll take the easy one. You take the difficult ones.
Okay.
Um, so, USCIS has a choice in the situation. They can give you a chance, or they can deny your case, or they can do something else called administrative closure. They can do your case is administrative closed unless you contact this case. We're not going to do anything with this case. We're gonna most of the time they are going to give you an opportunity to explain yourself. This year, if this happened to you this year, this is an election year, and because it's an election year, there is a tendency to wanting to naturalize as many people as possible because the
Yeah.
Democrats believe, you know, 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 5 will vote the other way,
Yeah.
and 4 out of 5 will vote their way, and therefore it's a number game. The more we naturalize, the more we're going to get votes, and they are now this year hungry to approve cases.
Yeah. In terms,
So I
yeah.
think with a very small excuse, as long as you're truthful, you need to be truthful. You know, I wasn't feeling great. I suspected I may be sick. That's why I overslept because my body was aching or whatever. You can probably get another appointment.
Yeah, I mean, my position is, get to it fast and go ahead and put on your begging knee pads and say sorry, 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 and get it to the person who would have interviewed you, wherever your case is, and I think there's
Yeah,
a good chance that they will be happy. Okay, maybe not happy, but be willing to hear from you again and
yeah,
pick up that case and process it to the end for you. Yeah, maybe I'll take care of one of the ones we have
yeah.
here live via YouTube. Oh, Bing. Question one. Ooh, multiple questions. Hi, Sam and Brian. Good evening. Our priority date is January 2013, EB3 India. Cool, getting pretty close. Submitted AOS in September 2021 when priority date is current. As family, we all got EAD, AP. Cool. And now Elder One got a letter from Selective Service System for registration. Ooh, interesting.
Okay.
Um, Question two: as we haven't gotten our GC, are we still on? We are on non-immigrant H1/H4. Is it mandatory to reply to the registration letter or ignore the letter, or it's good to reply saying we're still non-immigrants? And I think this is. I think Hari Guru asked another question down the road. So there's that. It's a selective service question. Sam, I know you've looked into these things before, so I will
It's
hear your
been
answer.
vague, but I will tell you that you do not have to be a permanent resident to be required to be in selective service. As a matter of fact, there's certain people, if you are a non-immigrant on a certain visas, I don't remember whether H-1B is one of them or not. You could be called in for selective service.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, the adjustment of status application registers you by signing the adjustment of status application. You have authorized USCIS to register you for the selective service. Now, I haven't looked at the fine print in years because I had an issue that I handled many years ago. More than likely, it's still there, Brian. That in the fine print says I authorize USCIS to register me for the selective by signing the adjustment. So your son, maybe he's already authorized USCIS to register them, and they probably haven't gotten to do it yet. Um, that might be an answer, but the question is whether or not on H4 you're required by law to register, and that's a question that needs to be specifically
Yeah.
researched.
Now, Sam, while you were explaining that, I took the initiative and pulled up a copy of Form I-485 and searched for the word selective, and I will quote for you aloud what it says.
Uh-huh.
This is part of the applicant's declaration or certification. So right above your signature block, here's what it says, and it's a good one. It means you're previous, Sam. You're right. If I understand that if I am a male who is 18 to 26 years of age, submitting this application will automatically register me with the Selective Service System as required by the Military Selective Service Act. So I wouldn't know this Hari Guru's child's age at the time that the selective. I mean, because you got to think about that. By signing, he wouldn't be 18 to 26. Perhaps if he wasn't 18 to 26 at the time he filed, but now
He
is.
became.
Yeah,
And the question whether or not the Selective Service Act requires him to sign up for selective service, and I think that
yeah,
needs to be a specific question.
yeah. That
I
that
know
that's
non-immigrants are required. I believe some non-immigrants are required. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think on the N400 form, the naturalization form, there's a question about it. And again, I haven't read the law on that for a while, but I'm pretty sure they ask you if you've, ever reside if when you if you ever resided in the United States from those years and failed to register. So again, yeah, it's a good question though.
Um,
Yeah. So I'm gonna keep on going through the questions that we have here. So from Nidhi Raz, receipt notice for AP that starts IOE is a new application entry system by USCIS. How do we know which service center it belongs to for processing time findings? Sam Shihab, but you in the back there. I
I
think
just pulled the selective service requirements.
yeah,
Back to the same questions, and
yeah,
here's the bottom line. Um,
yeah. The selective service question, yeah,
Almost all, and the footnote number two,
yeah.
that females do not have to register. That's the only. That's the footnote number two says female don't have to register. That's the only thing in the footnote. So almost all male citizens and non-citizens living in the United States who are between the ages of 18 and 26 are required to register with the Selective Service. Undocumented immigrants are included on the list of those who must register with the Selective Service.
Sam, I think we're about to enter in a public service announcement here. Are there penalties there for failing to register for the selective service
Let me finish this and I'll answer that question. Registering with the Selective Service does not mean that the male will automatically be included or enlisted. The eligibility requirements for registration are separate from the actual ability to enlist in the military.
Interesting.
Okay. Now,
Should we?
one of the issues is citizenship. If you did not register in the Selective Service, you could be deemed to be a person of bad moral character, and therefore you may have a problem becoming a citizen, and you have to overcome that.
Yeah. I guess I want to take a pause for a second, and for those who aren't aware, we're talking as if people know what the selective service system is. It's the U.S. military draft. Technically, the United States government maintains a military draft for. We're talking about males selective service age 18, 18 through 26. It keeps a database of people who, in the event of war, could be drafted automatically, enlisted, compulsorily enlisted in the military. I think the last time they did that was the Vietnam War. But so don't. It's something for people to understand. But your point is that everybody is required to essentially everybody's required to register,
Well,
right?
I am aware that not everybody has to require, and this is published by this publication I'm looking at is from the Immigration Legal Resource Center, which
Oh,
is a very,
ILRC is really good.
yeah,
Yeah,
very good. So it says some or most, is not saying all here. Um, um, well, for example, it says DACA, they have to, undocumented, they have to, most non immigrant, they have to. I'm aware that some don't have to, and it
but
could be those on a visitor visa.
mhm.
I don't remember, but you need to dig a little bit deeper.
Oh, sure. That's beyond the scope of
To
this conversation here.
Yeah, but yes, I mean, if you're planning to have a future here in the United States, probably it makes sense unless you want to spend more time and money trying to figure out whether your son need to register. They're not going to call him. They're not going to show up at the door um, and knock at the door and say, "We need your son to send him to a war." That doesn't happen in this country.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Specifically, I have some relatives, older relatives, who
Okay, so other than your 99-year-old relative, it hasn't happened.
my father missed it by my father missed it by a matter of months.
And how old is your father?
He passed away, but he
Sorry,
at the uh,
he would have been.
he was born in like 1955 or something
Okay,
like that. So
okay, all right,
yeah,
all right.
so
It can happen.
it can happen.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was ages 18 to 26 when that war on terror started, popping off, and there was talk about
yeah,
that happening
right.
back.
Anything can happen, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Not
Bottom
right
line.
now. We do not see anything like this on the horizon. Let's put it that way.
Yes. I don't. Fingers crossed. I don't have any. I'm not seeing any major U.S. Military conflicts on the horizon.
But things can happen overnight. This is a
Yes.
crazy world that we live in.
Yes. Indeed.
Yep.
Indeedy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moving on, Brian.
Yes, sir.
I cut you off with Harry Guru. My apology to Harry Guru.
No. We
I
got
had,
Hari
okay,
Guru. This is Nidhi Raz here had a question for us.
Nettie, we apologize to you. We cut off your question, but let's give it the full attention.
Yes. Receipt notice for AP that starts IOE is a new application entry system by USCIS. How do we know which service center it belongs to for processing time findings? So I have looked into this before. I believe they say if you look at the right resources, it says IOE is being processed online. However, on the bottom of every USCIS receipt notice, still, and I'm just going to pull one up in front of me, is on the bottom of the page. It'll tell you somewhere on that page, it'll tell you which service center issued this. And I have one here with an IOE number that comes from the National Benefit Center. Usually somewhere towards the bottom of the page on a receipt notice, it will tell you which case is issuing that notice. So take a look. I suspect that's going to be National Benefit Center because I believe the IOE ones usually are. But yeah,
I think so too.
yeah.
Yeah. But who is the National Benefit Center, Brian?
They are.
Again, their distribution, pretty much. I don't think they process anything. They just basically distribute.
I don't know. There seems to be adjustment of status cases that gets
Then they distribute it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that gets processed out of there. I don't know. I want a tour of it sometime. But yes, National Benefit Center is allegedly in Lee Summit, Missouri, for the record, per
Yeah.
the receipt notice I was just looking at, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, gonna keep on going here. Oh, sort of a follow up here from Hari Guru. We have pending AOS, but currently on H1B. When a person's laid off, do they allow to avail of the 60-day grace period, or as a person is a pending AOS, 60-day grace period doesn't apply to you? So, a pretty good question.
Mm-hmm.
60-day grace period still applies if you're maintaining H1B status. Short answer for me. And if by chance you are unable to get back in H1B status or get it back into a job during the 60-day grace period, well, a pending adjustment of status still allows you to stay because properly filed employment-based adjustment of status allows you to stay in the United States while it's pending. Is the bottom line there? Simply a relatively simple and short answer from me.
Well, I'll complicate it a little bit for you. Why not? That's my job, to make it difficult.
Okay.
Does the 60-day grace period for H1B gives you a hint that adjustment of status, 60-day unemployment is also acceptable?
Yes, I would argue that. 100%. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is not related, and you don't do anything about adjustment of status. But I think it's kind of a informal, indirect, or by analogy that the government expect people to be unemployed for up to 60 days, and that should not be a consequence to that.
However, what happens if you have see, Sam, I agree with you, but imagine during those 60 days you have a supplement J RFE that's due, on your I-45. I don't think responding to that by saying, well, I think the government thinks I should have a 60-day grace period here is
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think you'd be so either.
I do think that if you've had in your history a 60-day gap
Yeah,
in employment and they raise the question, you just tell them that the
I would
government
draw a
does
line in that.
recognize unemployment of 60 days is acceptable, and you
Yeah,
create as an analogy.
yeah,
But not if you have an RFE in the middle of the 60-day grace period, obviously, because the officer, number one, most RFEs are going to give you more than 60 days to respond to.
yeah.
So hopefully you found a job and able to address it. And then also, we would argue grace period if there's no any other option, we have no choice. But it is
Sure,
not the kind of thing that I would like to say, hey, high five, 60-day grace period.
sure.
Let's go tell them that. And you're going to get your H-1B
Yeah,
approved, your green card
okay.
approved.
It's
That's
I
not
would
going
make
to.
that argument too in the last ditch, and the whole time I'd be saying if I had 30 days left on the RFE, I'd say spend every day finding a job. You
Well,
know,
I mean, self-employment. I'm not going to go find a job. I'm going to tell him, go right now, open your company,
sure, that's an option too.
and let's fight an RFE on that,
Yeah, sure.
rather than fighting an RFE on our
Oh,
analogy
nothing.
to a
Yeah,
grace
yeah,
period, which
yeah.
will be ridiculous to do.
Oh, yeah. You could
Yeah.
argue all these things at once, too. Obviously,
Yeah.
Sam.
Yeah, go ahead.
You got my brain gears moving along. I think I mentioned Microsoft layoffs, right? Um, do you think the USCIS field office up there in Washington D.C. starts sending out selective I-45 RFEs asking for supplement J's for people when things like that happen? You don't think
No,
so?
no, 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 no.
Not. I would say not intentionally. However, I would think that if you go ahead.
You give them so much credit if they do. I mean, you think they are so on top of it
No, no,
that
no, no,
that
Sam.
that they will just say, "Oh, let me do a query and pull these out." There, I mean, yeah.
Well, I will tell
And
you,
who has the time over there?
I have the anecdotal evidence. The people in the investigation, Homeland Security investigations. I will tell you, I went to an interview middle of last year, middle of 2023, somewhere in the Midwest, and they brought up, a couple of years ago, the client you were working at as an IT consultant, they went bankrupt, right? Whole business shut down, and they started questioning this person's, H-1B maintenance of status during that time. So I think it okay. Are they issue? I don't think they have the organizational capacity to start um, issuing mass RFEs. I think they could bring it up. I think if somebody's looking at your case and saying, "Oh, works at Microsoft," in theory they could. If you're a company that's
Is
been
there
involved in
an
layoffs.
officer out there? Is there an officer out there that will do exactly that? Yes. Is there a system that will do that? I don't think so.
I don't know if there's a system, but there's an investigations folks out there, and that's
You
and
get a paranoid person, that will happen.
you know,
Two of them, yes, but
yeah.
not systematic. I don't think.
Well,
I'm hoping.
let's hope
I just my opinion. I have no
let's
business.
hope nobody's. Let's hope I'm not proven
Yeah,
right on that. I don't
exactly.
mean to create panic either. It's just I've experienced a similar situation like that. And whatever you're
Yeah,
saying got me
isolated.
thinking about
Yeah,
it.
isolated. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, going to keep on going with the questions that we have here
Yeah.
from Empire. DOS uses the same data that USCIS releases quarterly to set the visa bulletin. Because when you compare the demand from Mexico to Philippines and the rest of the world for EB, they're not close. You have the same final action date. Uh, More of a commentary sort of thing. Sam, what do you think about that? Shouldn't the Philippines and Mexico final action date be, way behind? I don't know if somebody's referring to. I guess they're probably referring to employment-based cases, obviously, because those countries do have the same final action date. Sam, do you think those countries, in terms of employment-based immigration, have greater demand than?
So let's analyze what he's saying.
Sure,
So we're all on the same page.
sure.
He's saying that when you look at Mexico
Hmm.
demand
Hmm.
and Philippines demand,
Yep.
and for EB,
Hmm.
they're not even close, but their final action date is the same because they are not separated in a date because they're lumped in with the rest of the world because
Well, they have their own column, but they have the same dates as the
yeah,
rest of
yeah,
them.
they're matching the dates in that
Yeah, yeah.
situation. They're just not so um, I can argue why. I can
Okay.
argue why. If you have not crossed the 7%, if you have not crossed the 7% limitation and you're lower than that, there is no point of giving it a different date.
Hmm.
And therefore, you have to keep it consistent because these countries like China and India have crossed the 7%. So there's more than the 7% demand. Therefore, they have to create a backlog. But again, I think I'm just arguing against myself. I can see his point, as a matter
Well,
of fact.
for me, I think it's probably something more administrative. Fundamentally, the question is, why is there a separate employment-based column for Mexico and the Philippines? And my guess would be to keep the charts organized. Basically,
Well, they're separated in the family
yeah,
and
yeah, but
they're extended into employment
exactly. That's exactly
by
what I'm saying.
default. But
Yeah,
what he's saying is that the demands for these countries is different, but the dates are the same, and therefore these dates are
yeah, yeah, I'd
fake
say
dates.
yeah. I think I'm agreeing with you. Basically, the demand is so low they just set it as everybody else is the rest of the world essentially. But they keep a separate column because it's a separate column for them in the family category and it's needed. Yes.
Yes, but
Okay.
again, yeah, but definitely they deserve a different date because, as he's saying, their demand is different. Therefore, these dates are fake dates.
I agree with that one. It's something that drives me kind of
Yeah,
mad.
these are not real dates for these people.
I think a lot more people would be happy to basically have a little tool that you look up and say, what country were you born in? What's your specific date based upon that one? Because I can't help but think, that somewhere out there's somebody from, I don't know, Andorra, a tiny country that gets as many people as India, and why are they in a backlog at all when based upon the fact that maybe people from it doesn't make a lot of sense. Why should
Yeah,
there be a backlog for countries that probably don't require one?
yeah.
Yeah,
But he's right. But I think he's right on that. He's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to have the same date as the rest of the world because it's not accurate.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I don't think the rest of the world dates are accurate. I guess is the point I'm making. There are certain countries that certainly have visas available now, and certain countries that yeah.
That don't have it. But do you think USCIS then are not giving out visas for certain countries because of their stupid chart? That's wrong.
Yes, I think that must. I'm telling you, I'm going to think of another small country.
And that can be why we lose visas every year
Perhaps so.
because their chart is not able to address the nuances of every country, and
Yeah.
therefore you're
Yeah.
holding back some
And I want it to
countries.
be replaced with like an electronic tool that basically says, that takes care of everybody. Because I think of small countries. I think of Lesotho. I've had one immigration case out of Lesotho. It was the first one I ever worked on in this office. I haven't had one since. Very small landlocked country.
Right. Well, I
Clearly
mean,
this
the
employment.
Vatican, is
Yeah,
another thing.
Vatican.
Yeah.
I haven't had one out of Zimbabwe yet.
How
It's
can these people be backlogged?
exactly, and that's
If
what.
your
But
priority date is April 1st, 2024, you should be without adjustment of status. As a matter of
I
fact,
yeah.
you should file the adjustment of status and file a written mandamus or some kind of a lawsuit right away
Ooh, that's fun. That's a fun. I don't think I don't. I
because
think
they're going to
yeah,
reject it,
they're going to reject it for sure. Yeah,
and they shouldn't reject it because there is 7% available
yeah. Do your math,
100%.
government. Show me that a green card is not available for me because I don't believe you. I know everybody in the nation of
Yeah.
Lesotho, and I'm the only one who's immigrating to the United States right now. You know?
Everybody else
Yeah, yeah.
is doing something
We all
else.
had a meeting. We talked. I'm the only one who's going to the
Yeah.
United States.
That's right. That's right.
Very something that I try not to think about too much because it irritates me for sure.
Yeah. So
Uh,
Harry Gursey, when we filed, he was 18, and now he's 20 years old.
yeah. So he was
So this is
18.
on the civil service. So
Yeah,
the adjustment of status application should have covered it, but it looks like the USCIS did not do what their USCIS promised to do,
yeah,
and therefore, yeah, you have to register. You have to,
yeah.
yeah,
Maybe a sort of public service announcement on that front. Sometimes they goof things up they're supposed to do, such as um, issue social security cards. Forward your application. Part of the I-45 form now is that they'll get you a social security card, and they're supposed to do that, and they do it like 99 out of 100 times fine, but sometimes they'll screw things like that up. They are imperfect, that's for sure.
yes.
Yeah. So, Irene Raju, if I'm on green card EAD and waiting for my green card and get laid off, how long do I have to find another job? As far as my research went, I couldn't find any concrete information. Please help. Popular topic for tonight for sure. And
Well, we just touched base on it a little bit,
Yeah,
and clearly there's no concrete
I agree with
information.
his research. There is no concrete time.
Yes.
The only thing that says is, again, I've quoted it several times, is an FAQs from September of last year that said we might consider, more or less says we might consider long bouts of unemployment to be interesting. You know,
The only thing they talked about that is, I think, correct me, Brian, because your memory is better than me on
I
this.
don't think I think you're probably right. Go ahead, but
It
yeah,
has to do with not working for
for
the
the
adjustment
sponsoring
for the
company.
sponsoring employer and
Yeah,
then moving on, and then there's gaps of employment.
yeah,
But if you're working for a sponsoring employer and then you got laid off for a short period of time, the question really is never answered, and there's no information on it.
yeah.
And uh, and the more time that passes, the less of a relevancy this issue is. So let's assume you had a 3 months gap this year.
Hmm.
This will be an interesting one. Brian, you have some information.
Well, yeah, I brought up the
Okay,
thing
good.
I'm always citing. I'll tell you what it
Yeah,
says.
go ahead.
They say a period of employment in an occupational classification different from the prospective job or a period of unemployment may affect a non-citizen's current immigration status and could raise doubts as to the continued validity of the job offer and or the non-citizen's intention to accept the offered position after the adjustment. So I guess it is kind of tied to the offered job, right there, as they put it. But basically, so I guess,
Because of that last part of the
yeah,
sentence, can
to
you read
accept,
the last part again?
um, intention to accept the offered position after adjustment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to do. This was a very narrowly specific to you're not taking that job at all, and therefore a period of unemployment. And then there's this company that filed this adjustment, and you never worked for them, or you have no intention of working for them. That scenario we might question in the future,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it doesn't answer Arun Raju's question.
Yeah.
How much time do you have if you have unemployment, Brian?
Um, there's no specific time stated. Our conservative immigration attorney's advice would be to probably shouldn't be out of work for long periods of time. If you get an RFE asking for a supplement J, you have 87 days, and if you don't have a supplement J within those 87 days, you're going to have some serious challenges there. But one of the options is to again, create your own
Self-employment.
company. Yeah.
Create your own company, and should come in and say, "Hey, I'm the employer. I brought my employer with me,
Yeah.
uh, and
Ask him anything.
and
Yeah.
my lawyer."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you need your lawyer for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should probably have a lawyer for that one
Oh yeah.
because they're gonna have trouble
Oh, they're
understanding
gonna
that
say,
for sure.
"Huh? What?"
Yeah. Yeah. From Harish, I've improved I-140 EB2 with priority date of November 2022, but I'm from India. Can I move back to India and then come back another 5 to 10 years on an H-1B if I wanted to come back and work here? Yes, generally, your priority date is main is retained essentially. Yeah.
But it was there a bona fide offer of employment for all that period of time, Brian.
He doesn't.
You don't have to. You can withdraw that one for you and leave. Your
Exactly.
priority date is preserved.
Yeah.
What scenario is the priority date lost, Brian?
Fraud and misrepresentation, I believe, is what the law says. Yeah.
There's another one.
Fraud,
When the priority date, the State Department can cancel your priority date.
ooh, consular process. If you
Yeah,
consular process the case, yeah,
if you I-140 becomes current, and then then the case goes to the visa office, and the visa office will give you 1 year by law, and
yep,
if you don't act on it, normally they don't act right away, but they can within 1 year of giving you notice to cancel your priority, and you lose your priority date. Therefore, if you decide to do what this gentleman is suggesting, it is either, if the I-140 is still valid, um, I would keep an eye on that date,
yeah,
or I'd rather withdraw this I-140 altogether. So it takes away the ability for the consulate or the visa office to cancel the priority date. They can't cancel it.
yeah.
Then, when you're ready to come back to the United States, you can file a new
That's a good point.
I-140,
That's a good point.
labor
Yeah,
certification, new I-140. Take advantage of the old priority date that you have. Nobody can touch it because you cancel your I-140.
yeah,
So The answer to your question, that is a very viable option, what you have just discussed, Haroon.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of thing I'd say talk with an attorney before committing to a specific plan. But
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So from Shri, hi to both of you. My party date, January 21st, 2013. It's going to be current soon. Concurrent filing was done for EB2 in 2022, August, when party date was current. Now it's in case remains pending. Do you think I get a supplement J, RFE supplement J when my party date becomes current? Um, I would give it a reasonable chance of that. It doesn't sound crazy to me. I don't. it's hard to really give odds on that, but basically, the longer a case sits, the more likely you are to get that RFE.
Yeah.
It's when depends on when your party date comes current, I guess.
Yeah. I would say there is a good likelihood that will happen.
Yeah. I mean, Shree follows up here, says, "Forgot to say I'm with the same employer." And my question is, well, how does the
They don't
John?
know that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, next question in the list here from Vishal,
Let me give you a break here, Brian. I have a
please.
green card, but right now I am not at the same location as my wife because I am pursuing higher education and I'm still eligible under the 3 year rule. Can you please explain briefly the rule? I have a green card, but I'm assuming this is citizenship.
It's got to be. Yeah. There's no. I don't think there's any prior
So
questions, but yeah.
I think here's the background, and I'm making assumptions, so I could be completely heading in the wrong direction
Yeah.
with this one. So you're allowed, if you're a permanent resident and you're married to a U.S. citizen, you can apply for citizenship after 3 years of becoming a permanent resident if you're married to a U.S. citizen and living in the same household, or 5 years if you're not.
Hmm.
Here I am uh, presented with interesting scenario. I'm married, everything is fine, but we're not in the same location.
Yeah.
And my wife is pursuing higher education and she's somewhere else. Can I use a 3 year waiver? We call it 3 year waiver
Yeah.
to apply for my green card for my citizenship. I would um, be nervous about this application
I would agree.
because it does require that you're living under the same roof. Now,
I would
there's
want to read the rule, to read the whatever the law says, or law or regulations say exactly. But I suspect you're right on that. Yeah,
yeah, you don't have not being married alone is not enough.
yeah,
You have to be living together
yep.
in under the same roof. Now, it's not a. I mean, I had handled a case. I had handled a case in which the person. So this is good information for Vishal. The person incorrectly claimed living under the same household, and they were living um, about 40 minutes apart for personal reasons. That marriage was stressed, unlike Vishal's
Yeah,
situation. Um, and the officers were excited. The case was denied. I kind of took the refiling of the citizenship application many years after, dealing with the potential fraud in
hmm
the prior filing
hmm
that the USCIS put in the denial decision as a um, you know uh,
Are they going to
right.
look?
And
Are they going to look back and think you were on this
yeah,
application? Think you were lying in the last one to try to get that benefit?
we,
Yeah,
we but we had to resolve the fraud issue.
yeah.
But that, if that gives you a clue, they expect the, to be living under the house, same household.
Yeah. I mean, for me, here's how I see this, that hypothetical application. They're going to ask on that application, where do you live and where does your spouse live? It's on, I've reviewed a couple N400s recently. It's refreshed my memory. It's on there. And, residence
but
means where you go and put your head at night.
I'll have two questions for this gentleman,
Sure.
and we are approaching the 70 minutes, but
Yeah.
we will address it.
Yeah.
I have two questions for this gentleman. Number one, how often do you visit each other?
Yeah.
Okay. And number two, how bad do you want to apply for citizenship? So let's assume, I'm a doctor, residency requirement, something, security clearance, something important, right? Okay, we'll try it, but we will try it with full disclosure. So
There
we
you go.
file the application and have a write up and
Yeah.
say, we believe we're living in the same household because she's studying, but we're together.
Yeah.
60% of the time. Here's our airline tickets. We're not playing games here. If
Yeah.
you have reservations, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll withdraw the application.
Yeah.
If you
Exactly.
don't have reservations and you feel that we meet the letter of the law, of course, after we do our legal research, because
Yeah.
there could be case law on this,
Yeah.
and in which case it could be answered, and we
Yeah.
don't know offhand as we're talking here right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take one more here, Brian. 7-Eleven, so we don't disappoint,
Yeah. Well,
and
Sam,
then we
I
go.
might advocate for those last couple ones because there's only a couple left here in the list. But
Let's do it.
okay.
Yes, yes.
I'm not no more after the last one that's there though. What is the procedure to request USCIS not to include the dependents when processing I-45 applications for GC? And my answer is don't file them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Hard to really understand why the question's being asked here, but applications unfiled go unprocessed. That's a policy of USCIS. You
But
know?
if you don't pay the fee, we're not going to
Yeah.
process the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
I love to dispel this one. Is there any EB2 quota separately for NIW applicants? No.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last one here on the list, and there you go, 710. Due to health issues, can
Uh-huh.
STD, a short-term disability, affect paid by company insurance in any way getting your green card? I'm about to be laid off soon. Priority date EB2 with an EB2 priority date. So it seems I think STD stands short term disability right there. Affect paid by company insurance in any way getting your GC. So I think this is a question that kind of relates to public charge, right? And public charge generally relates to government paid for means tested benefits, right? And this is not a this is like a company company insurance. I think I'd still say talk to an attorney specifically about the benefit you're taking, but my answer is probably likely not, because again, public charge deals with means tested public benefits. Means tested meaning financial ability. uh yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ajay says also I'm about to be laid off soon, priority date EB2 September and some date. Sorry to hear that, Ajay. Um, Again, just remember, anybody's laid off, you have options. A short period of layoff is not going to be a big deal. If you find it extended, you got to start your own business. And we've helped a lot
Yeah,
of people
it's
for a
doable.
long time. Very doable. And it may be your only choice
Yeah. I
that you
mean,
have.
I'll talk for a second on the subject of starting your own business. There are people who don't want to hire you but need some work done, and that's that. If you can basically cobble together a job out of, I have people want my services, they don't want to hire me, I'll hire me and I will do it on a contract basis. It's
Yep.
the bottom line. That's
Yep.
one of many options
Absolutely.
there on that front. There's lots of ways to make that business you create yourself work, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With that, we end our session today, and thank you guys for listening to us. Hopefully, the Q&A sessions is something that you enjoy, and if you do, drop us a note. We will do more of them. Until next Monday
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock, you guys have a fantastic rest of the week. From Shihab Burke, Attorneys at Law.